Oh, goodness. Hi, hello, and welcome to Rio Koruk. Welcome to Sober Tarot, the channel where apparently I have to clarify when I'm not consuming alcohol or caffeine. I'm kidding. So, today it'd be a self read of sorts. Ba-da-doom. Yeah, it'll be a self. I had iced coffee earlier. I was going to do, oh, wow. The order number today is 3966. Interesting. The order number today was 3966. So, what am I doing today? Between yesterday and today, I don't have the TV on right now, which means there may be. Oh, since it's a self read, it doesn't matter today. Um, Usually I have it on so I can catch if the video starts to buffer or anything. Interesting. Oh, okay. I'm using the Astro Matrix Tarot because I have two versions of the same deck. What was that? What was that? I'm trying to break them. Judgment and the Star. Oh my gosh. There we go. Was I at the cut? I think on this side, I saw a face up card. I thought I did. I guess I didn't. Maybe it just happened when they were shuffling. Should I put reversals in here? Nah. I thought I saw the Nine of Swords for some reason. Interesting. There we go. And essentially, ooh, that is pretty satisfying. These cards really, as you could see, they really lock in. And they are starting to bend a little bit, which especially, oh well. Yeah, so within the past few days, yesterday, this weekend question mark has been interesting. It's been an interesting weekend. It's been an interesting little stretch of time here, honestly. And the Two of Cups with the Two of Swords at the cut. It's been an interesting view the world in the Two of Swords. And then the King of Pentacles in the world. The Two of Cups and the Two of Swords is such an interesting combination because it almost has, I feel like, I guess it doesn't matter. It almost feels like it would read more like, no, that's different. Two of Cups and Eight of Swords is a different kind of vibe. Two of Cups and the Two of Swords almost reads like you wouldn't recognize blank if it hit you in the face or something like that, right? It's like being as close as the Two of Cups, literally face to face, but still with the blindfold on, can't see or recognize whatever. Interesting. So I'm going to use War Rules, which means I pull three cards from the top, face up, or face down. Sorry. One, two, three. And then I pull a card from the bottom. Okay. I'm going to have to finagle, do a little finagling. It was one, two, three to get everything to fit. I don't know if I just put that card in reverse. I don't know. I feel like I'm not doing a great job of explaining. Excuse me. So, It's been an interesting few weeks. And like I said at the end of the video earlier, and I feel like I didn't explain it the best way, I've kind of been struggling with my nature a little bit. I've been thinking the struggle has primarily been like, oh, I bet like this would be easier or that would be easier if I were less whatever, right? And ultimately, at the end of the day, there's so much that's situational that the compromise wouldn't be worth it, for one. Also, secondly, I am who and how I am. For two, so my nature isn't necessarily going to just change, right? And then for three, and it wasn't until yesterday, excuse me, that I've realized that my nature has also provided certain benefits, right? So yesterday I was walking, right? And through the course of my walk and listening to voice notes and living life, reflecting because I still don't have an audiobook that I'm listening to. So my attention isn't as completely absorbed as it has been for since May. I mean, May started the audiobook kick, and it's basically been one book after another. This is probably the most I've read since I was a child. Um, but yesterday it was like, I'm not chosen, I choose. I don't need, I desire. And then I was like, oh, like I should pull cards. Right. It's not blank, it's blank, it's not whatever, it's whatever. And it's very me. It's probably something akin to what I've done before. But today, after the chalk, especially, when I was like not necessarily fully encapsulating this struggle with my nature or this struggle with a part of my nature, is like I don't police, I make my peace. Right. And I've been like that for as long as I can remember. I don't I don't feel like I'm not going to change myself for anybody else. And I don't expect anyone else to do that for me, for one. For two, like there's something and someone for everybody. And like not everyone's my cup of tea. I'm not everyone's cup of tea, right? And I think sometimes, because then after I came to that realization or after that statement, right, came to mind and I thought about it a little bit, I was like, ooh, because there is one significant relationship in my life that has required a lot of like patience and compassion and growth and understanding. And the part of me that's like, I don't police, I make my peace. Usually I'm like, okay, like it's not a vibe here. We're like two different people. This thing isn't going to work. So I'm just going to like, let's just cut our losses, move on with our lives. I'll make my peace. You make your peace. And sometimes it's I mean, not necessarily all the time. That is something that I'm not great at, which I realize. And then I like kind of apologize, but also express my gratitude because I don't want to feel like I'm like policing somebody or telling them like who to be or how to be, you know? In my mind it's like I don't want this. So I'm just gonna go, right? It's like if I sit down at a restaurant, I don't necessarily have to complain about the food, but I'm not gonna finish it and I'm never coming back ever again type energy. And it's not always great. Um, it isn't always whatever. That's not the point. That was the third thing. I don't police, I make my peace. But also because of that, here, it's like if I don't want to call it a realization. If the question is posed to me, for example, right? Because there was something about the astrology or something that was just kind of bothering me a little bit in a like inquisitive, like dig into it way. But, you know, and so then I had that realization. I was like, what if, like, with the North Node being in Pisces, Pluto being early Aquarius, I don't know if I completed the thought earlier, when the North Node progresses into Aquarius, it's going to enter at the 29th degree in the 59th minute because they proceed retrograde. So you have the North Node at when it finishes its role, its turn in Pisces. You're going to have the North Node at the tail end of Aquarius, and Pluto at that point probably still, because it's so slow, at the beginning. And so it's like book ending Aquarius energy. And so that was the whole, like, it sets the tone, at least for the beginning. And it doesn't have to be what the entirety of the age of Aquarius is, but it's going to set the tone. And from there, we'll have to move in either direction. It's like either up or down or coasting from there, right? And so again, with so much of relevant, you could say age of Pisces, whatever things, before or as we really enter this age of Aquarius, this is the opportunity to, in a way, prove that we've learned from our history, or to prove that we haven't. And either we'll repeat. And it's interesting because I saw my mom shared a reel with me the other day about like the times that Pluto was in Aquarius and Uranus was in Gemini, and like the what was happening in the world. And then sometimes low key, it's really like I had another thought. Sometimes low key, it was kind of like astrology is the science of repeating history, basically. Because astrology as a science, it pulls upon historical events, right? And it associates meaning between planets and signs and aspects based upon those historical events. But then I had a thought earlier, because we are ever evolving, and because spirit, the divine, lies on the growth edge, or is, in a certain number of words, always a step ahead. It was another question of, if we take our own growth into account as well as spirit does, right? So imagine astrology is easy, low hanging fruit. Imagine, for example, there's a point in your life where you don't know anything about astrology, right? In the context of the story, right? So you're going about your life. There are certain times when certain themes pop up and you don't know, and then one day you discover astrology. And like now you have all these correlations, and you're like, oh my gosh, like this was happening when that was happening, and that was happening when this was happening. And it's almost like a question of if our, not cognition, but if our thought process stops there. Because on the, it's like on the other side of things, it's like, okay, like this is like another tool that's in the toolkit. This is knowledge that someone has gained, and like you still build upon it, right? And so it almost becomes a, like, could become a, now that you know, what will you do with it, right? And I wonder if sometimes we think, or we approach it as if knowing is enough, or like that's the be all end all, like, oh well, now I know, and whatever. But because the divine is constantly on the side of evolution and growth and becoming, it's like it doesn't stop there, right? Like now that you've learned addition, you use that to learn multiplication type energy, right? So then maybe it becomes about pulling different energy from these archetypal sort of planets, or different facets of these energies, rather than like the default that has been expressed in a time of unawareness, right? Kind of just like the puzzle, like life gets more complex, right? It's like, oh, well, now that astrology is like a known thing, I don't know. Anyway, I already pulled these three. Those were thoughts I had today. Bottom of the deck over here is the Four of Swords. The way that I do war is, if you've never played war, it's like you draw four cards, right? You just like, I declare with the first three cards, and then war with the fourth card. And whoever's card is higher gets it. And you just keep going round after round after round until someone is left without cards. Because the person who wins all the cards in that round, right? But this is like a perception versus reality type thing. So the way that I do it is the pips, aces are low, pages are high. Oh, that's how I'm doing it today. I'm pretty sure that's how I always do it. Aces are low, pages are high. Or should be pages be low? Should pages be low and aces be high? Anyway, doesn't matter. Aces are low, pages are high. The knight beats the page, the king and queen tie. All majors beat any of the minors, but they all hold the same place. So, like, the world doesn't beat strength because strength is 8/11 and the world is number 21, right? They all hold the same space. And then you just pull. If there's a tie, you keep pulling until the tie is broken. So, on one side is the Four of Swords, on the other side is the Chariot. This is so interesting. The perception is the Four of Swords, reality is the Chariot. It's interesting because number one, the Chariot is one of my birth cards. LOL. I don't know what that was. But also because the Four of Swords is at rest, but the Chariot is moving. It's a card of movement. And it's so interesting that I feel like for years I've been like, why is Cancer like the Chariot? Like, I know that Cancer is a cardinal modality, but like, how? And then I found out. I was like, oh, okay, I get it. I get it. And now that I know, I guess I could have seen it. Sure. So the reality of the situation wins out, and this one is about me. It's a self read, right? And then, as so, I was live earlier on the chalk, and as I was thinking about it, I was like, oh, I could do this for like different things, right? And sometimes it is our perception of the thing that will win out. Sometimes it's the truth of the thing that will win out, right? For example, if we are eating something, that's not a great example. It just, I don't think it needs explaining. Sometimes the when the perception of a thing wins out, you could say it's the narrative of the thing rather than the truth of the thing, or it's like because we see something as whatever and interact with it as so because we only allow for a certain range of motion or a certain number of degrees of freedom, like that's all it can occupy in our experience. And so even if there is more to the thing, for example, right, it's like a smartphone. If someone only ever uses the phone to call people and they never use any of the features connected to the internet, then their phone essentially doesn't connect to the internet, even if it is a smartphone, right? But I guess the truth of it will be, well, as a smartphone, there are certain updates, let's say, that are going to get pushed through the internet, even if the person never uses the internet and doesn't believe that their phone is like connected to the internet. Like those updates are still going to get pushed through, right? The ones that we don't volunteer for. So that is that on this. But cool, interesting. Also, this is Jupiter in Libra. My Jupiter's in Libra. Did I know that this was one of my birth cards? I don't think I did. I know the Four of Wands is. And the Six of Pentacles is, and there may be another one. I think I forget about the Four of Swords. Anyway, Libra and is also, that's interesting. Libra is also cardinal. It squares Cancer, right? It's interesting that Jupiter in Libra, because of Jupiter's associations with expansion, it's interesting that the card associated with Jupiter in Libra is a card of rest. And again, if we take it to be more of an equilibrium type situation with Libra, then it's like even if things are expanding over here, if they are simultaneously expanding over here, then overall the like relative equilibrium is maintained. And so it reads as stagnant. It reads as at rest, not necessarily stagnant. I was checking to see if anybody was going to get some food. Cool. So, I don't know. This self read for you to get to know me, for me to get to test the formula. The star. So, I don't star energy. I moon. Interesting. I don't star. I moon. And the immediate thing that comes to mind is stars produce their own light. The moon reflects light. But the image, as I'm looking at the image, it's like the stars in the star go like up, away from in the opposite direction of the water. But in the moon, it's like these, whatever this is, it like falls down into the water. Right? Excuse me. Secondly, I don't magician. I Eight of Cups. Why does this almost feel like I don't police? I make my peace. This is in the line of I don't need, I desire. The line for me personally, I'm not chosen, I choose, was the star and the moon. The lowest hanging fruit there, again, calls on energies of higher frequencies or higher perspective and uh, harmonic resolution. Where for some, it seems spirituality, religion is a way to separate from humanity and to separate from the experience. Whereas for me, and for many, it deepens the experience and it like applies, it grounds and roots me more, right? Because to a certain degree, it's like, well, what's the point of being incarnate, or what's the point of like if it doesn't make the world better for somebody, kind of, sort of. Excuse me. In the line of I don't need, I desire, it's magician. The magician creates while the Eight of Cups like seeks in a way. And it's interesting that the moon is in both of these. Not only is the moon in both of these over here, but between the star and the magician, like with the machine in the back that I with this, it's like with it putting out these electric girl, my brain. Thing, it's almost like as the stars shine, as the sun shines, like this puts out electricity. So it's like similar ish in nature. And then in the last line, I don't police, I make my peace. I don't ten of pentacles, I strength. Now I was gonna say that it's interesting. By the end of it, there's the same number of majors. Because at first it was interesting that it was like major, major, but the Four of Swords was on the losing side. And I'm a Taurus moon and rising. So when it comes to me, I'm not surprised that the truth of who I am wins out over the perception of who I may be. Because, again, like I don't police, I make my peace type energy. I feel like there have been several who have ultimately made assumptions about me. And I will say they weren't completely baseless assumptions, but it's like, I don't know, I'm not flat. I'm very round. I've been round for a long time. I'm less round than I was a year ago and less than 2 years ago. I'm dynamic and my character is dynamic. It depends on, I'm a Pisces, right? It depends on the waters that I'm swimming in, and it depends on the temperature. Sometimes it depends on the type of day. I'm a water sign. I can be not, I mean, I can be moody and temperamental, but it's like, I don't know. I don't I don't know why this water is making me want to. Usually those are like the good food wiggles. I must have been thirsty. Ultimately, the truth of who I am wins out, right? And it is what it is. Sometimes there have been times where I don't know. I feel like because I am a Pisces, there's a part of me that still, like, I try to always honor what things were when they were what they were, right? And just because things are different now doesn't mean that they weren't important, or um, it's like I don't have to mentally or emotionally cover over feelings or recharacterize certain stories or whatever at the end of things, right? I can allow for them to be what they were, but also know that it will never be ever again. Okay. That with the way things ended, indications are very strong that it would never be. Like, I'll not necessarily say never, but I will say very unlikely, right? This last bit is interesting. And like, I feel like with the star, the magician, and the Ten of Pentacles, and the Four of Swords. I feel like that could very easily be an energy that seems like ripe for harvest or ripe for the tapping or ripe for the whatever. That could, without mincing words, be like easily taken advantage of. Especially because that Four of Swords, it's like it's at rest, right? It's like it's just laying there to be used, waiting to be given purpose. But with the Chariot, excuse me, being this card, it has purpose. And it's interesting because what I was talking to my journey buddy, I kind of like the first two, especially lines, even the third one, but especially the first two, like unwrapped with the conversation that we were having. Um, in a way, it was inspired. And there were a few things that inspired. It was life. But today, after the like, I don't police, I make my peace, um, it was very like I knew the second line, right? I don't need, I desire, right? So that is my attitude towards a lot of things in life, right? I go for what I desire, not for what I need, because I believe that my needs are provided. And I've been so fortunate and I'm so extremely grateful that even in arguably one of the most uncertain times of my life, I've been incredibly well like provided for and taken care of. And I am so unbelievably grateful and gracious because it was a huge question mark. And it's allowed me to live, I guess, the part of my nature that is I don't need, I desire, right? Even in like when it comes to basically everything, because my needs are ever changing and ever evolving. I wouldn't want necessity to necessarily be a factor that I make life choices and life decisions with are based upon. Because what happens if my necessities change, right? And so with that, and with the whole like I don't police, I make my peace. I was like, I want to. I was like, it feels like there's something deeper in the I'm not chosen, I choose beyond the numerous times that y'all have heard me say it before. Excuse me. And one thing that I landed on was purpose. So it's interesting that like purpose is here, um, because I was telling my journey buddy like there have been different things in my life that I've been interested in and that I have had desires to like explore that interest, but to my recollection, I've never had anything that I felt like called to. Right. I've never, it's like I don't, there are many things that I would love to do with my life. There is a lot of arenas that I would like to make impact in, or like there are a lot of different venues that I would like to pursue fulfillment through and find purpose in, but there isn't anything that's like this is my calling, this is my purpose, this is what I was born for, this is what I was meant to do. And so and that it was like that could have been, can be considered to be one of those like I'm not chosen, I choose. So the impact and the arena and the venue was mine for the choosing, right? Partially mine, partially the circumstances of life, right? Excuse me. Oh, the moon. Duh, I'm a Pisces. That's another one. So my sun, Chiron, and Mars are all represented on the table. Sun in Pisces, Mars in Cancer, Chiron in Leo. It's also interesting that there's this like water, 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 fire, right? The moon associated with Pisces, also very watery. Saturn and Pisces being the Eight of Cups, and then Cancer, cardinal water. There's no, well, instead of scorpionic fixed water, it's Leo fixed fire, and it's major arcana Leo, which rules the sun, but is not the sun. So that connects the line of I choose and I make my peace, which is also, you know, more or less true. I make my peace with my choices and decisions because ultimately, at the end of the day, I'm the one that has made a lot of them, if not all of them, if not at the very least, most of them. And so it's because I mentioned like the moon reflects the light of the sun, and with Leo ruling the sun, also animals come through animals. We got the lobster, the dog. Oh, there's Scorpio, I guess. The lobster. Lobster, dog, wolf, lion. Horses with the chariot. And I guess that's something interesting because all of the animals that have made an appearance are on the side of the truth of me rather than how I appear to be, I guess you could say. The perception of me. The interesting thing with the moon here, though, again, because the ruler of the sun is here rather than the actual sun itself. I don't know. It's interesting. Wow. I'm like actually glad I did this. I feel like this, as I'm like going through this mentally and as I'm reflecting on like the things behind the scenes of my life, like what's motivated me, what I've felt. And especially, it's interesting because it's like there is a journey back to the self. There is, I guess you could say, I don't know, inner child to me, I feel like doesn't necessarily mean what it means for other people. That's something else that I've been like pondering on because it's like I don't know, like what is a download? What is channeling? Because to me, a lot of my gifts are so baked into who I am as a person that if I just like think about something for long enough, to me, it's just like a train of thought, right? It's not necessarily like channeling. Now, I will say that like if I randomly get a thought, which happens sometimes, and it's like, yeah, right? That's something that's like easier to ascribe to, like, I wasn't consciously thinking about this and it just came to me like something, something, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? And then it's like, yeah, like a download, I guess. But I don't know. When it comes to, I guess, like channeling, and maybe it's how I position myself as well. My, I guess we're like really getting into it. There have been different points in my life that have been particularly challenging. And maybe this is one of my foils or things that I need to like learn to work to get over. It's like the divine is not limited by any stretch of the imagination, but with all that like happens in the world, there have been like very challenging, very dark times where it's like I would still be like, well, I don't want to like pray or I don't want to like go to God or the divine because like there are people who have it worse. And it's like I can like make it through this. I can pull myself together, right? Or at least like, a little help, a little guidance, yeah, but like I don't need a solution. I don't need like whatever. And I think it's my attitude towards a lot of stuff that informs me, obviously, and my choices, obviously, and how I navigate life. And so when it comes to like asking, I've learned to ask people and I've learned to utilize my resources. And I feel like even when I do ask the divine, there are certain things that it's easier for me to ask the divine about. But when it comes to like me and my personal life, um, I don't know. I kind of struggle sometimes because I'm like, like there are people who need more. And again, like the divine isn't limited in any means. So just because like it doesn't take from anyone else. And that's something that I know. It hasn't always been a part of, like, it isn't something that I've always been of a mind to like recognize. Um, but I feel like I was going somewhere with that and I kind of lost it. Oh, I was just saying it's easy. Like, as I'm not easy, like, as I'm like looking at this, I feel like there's like little, let me take a picture. Hold up before I forget. There's like little realizations that I'm having. And that's why like, I'm glad I did this. Cool. If that works. I probably should have turned that light off, but it's not necessary. If I zoom in, I can see beyond the glare. Cool. I don't know. The perception of me looks gorgeous, though. The star, the magician, the Ten of Pentacles. What I like about the star and the moon is I feel like that is my approach to, you could say healing, because the star is associated with healing and the moon isn't necessarily. The moon is a very healing energy, but it requires us to like face the things in the dark, or it requires us to sit in like deep reflection in areas that we may not necessarily want to, which ultimately leads to healing. But I feel like whenever it comes to people who have come to me for whatever reason, my approach is almost always to refer them back to themselves, or to do my best to remind them of how capable they are. Right. And I feel like here lately, I would say I feel like it doesn't happen as much lately, but also I've not been necessarily as accessible lately, especially this year. Right. I feel like earlier in the year, it was like distance and learning. And the later half of the year is about like realizations and like deep conversation with self, right? Because I don't need a desire. For a long time, I didn't really know what I wanted. And so my approach was, and kind of sort of is, to experience, right? If I don't know what I want, then I need more experiences to know what I like and what I don't like. And then I'll just, at that point or along the way, I'll go for more of what I like and just not like do the things that I don't like, that I don't need to do, right? If it's not a necessity or a desire, why am I here? Right? If it's a necessity but not a desire, like, okay, I understand why I have. That's the conversation is okay. I understand that I need to do this anyway. If it's a desire and not a necessity, and I have the resources, then you know I want it. So if I can go for it, I'm gonna go for it. Right? What's the purpose of acquiring means if it's not to meet my desires? Right? And that was like, and it's, I don't know, it's so, because one of the things that I struggle with, one of the pieces of my nature that I struggle with sort of passively is that like I don't love money. And I don't love acquiring money. I don't feel like I need to get as much as I can. I don't chase the bag. And I'm kind of like naturally, my natural proclivities don't align to like grind culture or hustle culture or working yourself to an early grave culture. And so it, and plus me being as stubborn as I am, blurring the lines between like what an actual necessity is and bartering sometimes quality of life. Low key. Um, it's like one of the early jobs I had was like, I was like, my needs are met right now, and this is not it. Like, it was really one of those like, why am I clocking in and showing up every day? It reached that point, and again, like I don't love money, so after I got like what a TV and my PlayStation, I was like, okay. Not to be fair, some of the things that I like are like relatively expensive, but they're not necessarily repeat purchases either. You know what I mean? And I know some people are like really motivated by money, and it's like, make the most, get as much money as you can because, you know, whatever. But the thing was, I was like, I wonder, like, if I really loved money, would certain things in my life, like certain arenas and aspects of my life, have progressed more because I desire those things, but I don't have the love of money to sort of like get there at any cost or whatever. Uh, but there are reasons why I love money, and the reasons why I love money is because money is a necessity, and there are people that I love, and sometimes the people that I love have necessities, and I would love to be able to help the people that I love when they have necessities, but not necessarily the resources. And so if I had resources, then I could help them, and then part of me that sort of snowballed into the next thing of like, like, well, I wish I had a nature where I could just like do it for myself. And it's not that I'm not self motivated, but I will say it can sometimes feel like it's one of the drawbacks of the like I don't need, I desire. Right, excuse me. And it's one of the drawbacks of like deeply knowing that I will be provided for. And if I'm not, then that will be my experience type energy. So it almost manifested, I'll say, yeah, I'll say it manifested as a shadow before, but it was a shadow that was based upon a certain truth, right? And sometimes I think I was briefly mentioned it to my journey buddy. It may have been around a similar sort of point, actually. Actually, it was. This is just a different branch off of that shadow manifestation. Um, it's a truth that was hidden by shadows. It's something that I still believe, but when my life was a lot darker, the belief manifested in certain ways that I recognize as untrue. And so it's like the illusion around the thing has dissipated, but the seed of the truth that that illusion was built upon remains. Anyway, this is like where I've been. I guess Saturn has been in Pisces, right? So, you know, I feel like that's been more of my Saturn and Pisces experience, especially within the past year and some change. So, as Saturn has been in Pisces, the majority of it, um, especially before it moves into cardinal Aries, here for the past few weeks, and honestly, really since May, but really the past few weeks. It's like earlier, there would be times when like certain things would sort of come up, but here lately, and it's like because things are, oh, the chariot. Like, that's another thing. I don't know if it's all the Taurus in me, but I am very much a momentum type of person, right? And like, but I'm also like Pisces, so it's like vibes and momentum. So it's like low hanging fruit. I kind of got to like feel like it to really like pick up speed, and it's because I can. It's like there are certain way. I guess that's the expression of the fixed energy in me, and I've got all the fixed stuff, all of the fixed energy. There's a fairly loose grand fixed cross in my chart, and I believe a fairly loose grand cardinal cross. Let me think, because it's late, early and late Taurus, about mid Leo, later Scorpio, and then mid to late Aquarius. So that's like 23, 27, 25, and then I believe it's like 17. So it's that Leo that kind of like weakens the whole thing. Um, but like once I get momentum, it's not necessarily always easy for me to like switch, like literally in like moving, and like my brain sometimes it gets a little like one track. But in life, it's manifested as like, I don't know. It's just it's a reason. One of the reasons why it would benefit me to give consideration to things because I know how I am with momentum. But also, I don't need to, and then the part of like where I learned to manage my nature, I don't need to give so much consideration that I don't do anything. And so, on the basis and premises of this is how others perceive me and this is who I really am. And while some of it may still apply, as I'm like now like talking through this and looking at it more, there are also pieces of this of like how I perceive myself and who, like, with the lens of me, how I perceive this last leg of my journey versus what has actually been happening. Because as attuned, attuned to, in tune with, and aware of some of the things, a lot of the things that I'm aware of. Shout out again to the journey buddy. Because if I'm not, she helps. Um, and also like other people in my life, like my mom, like various people, all kinds of people. Shout out to all the people. Honestly, with the past year, shout out to all the people. Um, because sometimes it feels a little like Four Swordsy. You know what I mean? So anyway, also, excuse me, what I look for in a strength card is the relationship between the lady and the lion. And I love that this is another like healthy relationship depiction, right? Cool, love it. I still feel like maybe I'll do it offline. Oh, because it's the moon, right? And because Leo rules the sun. Again, it may be more personal. It is more personal. But it's an energy of like, because the moon reflects the sun's light, it's a reflection of a thing that is unseen because the sun isn't here, but the ruler of the sun has made an appearance. And also, like, I'm a Pisces, and that's a Piscean card. Again, like, it's literally the moon. And so it's like, rather than reflecting the light of the manifestation of the thing, it reflects maybe aspects of its ruler, the sun's ruler. Also, the moon and Cancer are both here. Astrologically, the moon is associated with Cancer, and the card of the Chariot did come out. Love the Chariot. Love the Chariot, especially as like a representation of this. And it's something that I've grown into over the years, over the decades. And this is a chariot in motion, in the element of water, actually. And there's nothing but water. So it's like this chariot is being drawn over a body of water. Interesting. I feel like I really need to like dive into this. And maybe that's the thing. Water? Well, I'm a Pisces again. Every one of these cards has water in it. And with this particular depiction of the strength card, there's a river in the background. And what's so interesting is one of my darkest shadows was that like Eight of Cups type energy. Also, here's 8 8. Oh, 1888. Yeah. Is that a toll free number? 1888. Between the moon, 18, the Eight of Cups, and strength being an 8, 1888. Um, I kind of love that toll free energy. It's like a hotline that's always open. You know what I mean? Anyway, what was I about to say? Oh, one of the darker shadows was like in dark times where I would intentionally make myself even more miserable, or I would intentionally not choose the things that would make me happy because that's where I was in life. It wasn't great. I'm glad to not be there anymore. I probably wouldn't be here if I were still there, literally and figuratively. Um, but now it's almost like that polarity has reversed. And the reversing that polarity took effort, and it took tears, and it took all kinds of stuff. I don't know, the longer I sit here, like the more that I see. And it's all on the side of, again, it's easier because I'm me, but there are still things that I get to like find out and see, right? I feel like the Star, the Magician, and the Ten of Pentacles sits in the space of like things that I would like to do, but that energy is. I'm gonna pull another three on top of these, and I guess I'll reveal them. Uh, I'll reveal both. I don't Five of Wands. I Two of Pentacles. Ooh, girl, if this is not the truth, there are some fights that are worth fighting. There are a lot that aren't. Again, I don't police. I make my peace. Eight of Cups. I walk away. I'm like, all right, I'm good. I feel like I've gone through enough in life that I'm not interested in taking on more that I don't need to take on, especially if whatever the environment situation is, like there's no reciprocity, right? Like it's easy to hold presence when presence is held for me, for you to generalize, right? It's easy to show up when others show up for you. Now, some people, but again, that's when you sort of like make your peace, right? And a lack of reciprocity. And it isn't necessarily always about whatever, but like there has to be some semblance of balance in some way. I don't Five of Wands, I Two of Pentacles. I don't Ace of Pentacles, I Hanged One. And this is falling on top of the Magician and the Eight of Cups. LOL. That Two of Pentacles gives that moon. Oh my gosh, I feel like I get it. Because like the Star and the Five of Wands is almost like a fighting to make something happen, right? But the Two of Pentacles clarifying the moon, especially with the Eight of Cups there, it's it's almost like it's built upon a knowing of what already is. And because something already is, it doesn't need to be created. Some folks are creatives that need to create. I am not that person. I don't feel the need to own my own company or to spearhead my own whatever. I can support other people in their dreams as I live my dreams, right? I don't need for my career to be the thing that I like spearhead, right? I can do that in like my personal life or in the personal sectors of my life. I kind of much prefer it, especially where I am now. At some point, I can see there being a change. Um, I can imagine several scenarios in which that will be the case later in life, but for where I am right now, I'd much rather be a support for companies and causes that I believe in, um, and have that spearheading in like other areas, arenas, aspects of my life, especially now. Especially now, I see it, and it's like this discernment or this scrutinizing that like she's looking at that pinnacle with. I don't ace of pentacles, I hanged one. And again, it's like it's this hanged one with the eight of cups rather than like, which again it's that energy of like finding the thing. And just like because it's the sun that's not there, but the ruler of the sun's presence. So to feel the presence of the ruler and then to like find the physical manifestation of it. Also, it's interesting how the like pictorially we have like the ace of pentacles up here and then like that same sort of golden ace shape down here where the head is, by the way, rather than this like disembodied hand. Also, I'm a Pisces, hanged one, Neptune. I love that both of my cards so far, all of my birth cards are on the side of the truth. I guess being the moon because I'm a Pisces and the hanged one. The chariot is one of my birth cards, literally. Finally, I don't six of wands, I page of wands. And this clarifying the ten of pentacles and strength. I mean, if you talk about like literally, there are triumphs and there are gifts. The gifts that I inherit are gifts of the spirit. And sometimes those you could say oftentimes those are more valuable than inheritances and anything that could be squandered, not even within a generation, within a weekend, in the hands of the right wrong person. An inheritance can be completely drained over the space of seconds, if not days, if not years, or a single lifetime, sure. But it's like triumphs, right? Six of Pentacles and the Six of Wands and the Ten of Pentacles. And for me, in a way, that ship has sailed, right? In a way, my journey has already been very unconventional, extremely extenuating circumstances included and aside. And so, in a lot of ways, like I got my first B, I think, when I was in like seventh grade. And from there, it's all been downhill. In terms of like, I don't associate like straight A's with my self worth or with my value as a person or human being. Um, smart was personally, smart was never one of my personal identifiers, even if a lot, it was one externally. I didn't put as much value in it as other people seem to put in it. But after I got my first B, I was like, oh, girl, that's permission to, unfortunately, academically, that was permission to do all kinds of, or not do all kinds of stuff. Um, but that aside, why did I get there? Um, oh yeah, as an example, like there's, I don't know, there's just a lot of things that I don't desire, especially with the dynastic generational energy of the Ten of Pentacles, sort of being more of like norms. There are quite a few that don't like speak to me. And I don't have to throw everything away. I don't necessarily have to throw anything away, but I'm not going to be as invested in it as something that I actually desire. You know what I mean? Which is, interestingly, which is another thing that's been semi relevant lately that I've been thinking about more so lately about ceremony and public ceremonies. And I guess the production around public ceremonies, and what I don't necessarily care about or care for, um, in current circumstance, right? Because I know that things will change. I am quite certain. I am very aware of the possibility and potentiality of things changing when circumstances change, right? And maybe it's one of those things that when you get it, you get it. When you're there, when you have crossed beyond the Bordeaux, the precipice, the threshold of the Bordeaux into the reality of the thing, everything is different. And so, what you before that point think, whatever, your priorities shift, you change, right? I'm very much so open to that. But for me, excuse me, it's more so the life that I want to create in the experiences that I want to have. And although that's always been my truth as a person, it hasn't been until the past 7 or so years. Was my darkest night? We are coming upon the 7th anniversary of my darkest night, which means we're coming upon my seventh rebirthday, second birthday. Interesting. Um, there goes that train of thought. Excuse me. Oh yeah, and like I've had experiences in the past 7 years, like things that I never thought would happen for me. Both things that I never thought would happen and things that I never would have imagined happening. So passive and active thought have happened. And for me, it's more about that creating the life that I want to live, or making sure that I'm telling Telling the story as I want my tale Tale to be told, right? And so strength is with the Page of Wands as the truth of the thing. Love this fire energy, by the way, rather than the Ten of Pentacles and the Six of Wands. And it's no shade to anything. Like, there are people who truly, genuinely want, desire what I would call like a Ten of Pentacles typical, whatever, right? To each their own. It's just not for me. And again, for me, in some ways, that ship has already sailed. In quite a few ways, that ship has already sailed. And so maybe this is a comfort that I haven't lost as much as I may feel I have at some points. Wow. I'm like really loving this. I encourage you ain't got to do it live, but if you have some cards, I encourage you to do the same. I softly encourage you to do the same just because it is helping and benefiting me in the ways that it's doing for me at this moment doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to do the same for you. But again, it feels like as much as I've been struggling with my nature, this is like the affirmation of it. Which again, I, maybe that's the feeling today because that realization that I also had today after the chalk. No, it was today before the chalk. But as I was responding to my journey buddy, I believe, or was that yesterday? I don't know. No, I don't remember. No, I think it was yesterday. Actually, since yesterday, then there we go. Finally, the perception of all of this, which is the Knight of Pentacles. Ooh, a knight is pretty high. A knight is pretty high. It's harder to be a knight than it is to be a four. Over here on the reality of things, let's see. It's the Four of Pentacles. Whoa. I was wondering if I would actually do this because I read those on top of this one. Now, because it's tied, I need a tiebreaker. And I was just wondering, am I going to go three deep? Yep, we're going to do it. The Knight of Pentacles and the Four of Pentacles. What I like is, again, this is another visualization of something at rest versus something in movement, right? Even though the Knight of Pentacles is the slowest knight, it still moves forward. And the Four of Pentacles is another representation where the Four of Swords is more of like a rest and recuperation. The Four of Pentacles is more of like a stagnancy. And again, like movement wins, it's not this. Also, the Knight of Pentacles and the Four of Pentacles. And this Four of Pentacles is on the side of where the Chariot was, right? And so maybe that is like, it's not a selfish, with everything that the Chariot symbolized, with the moon, the Eight of Cups, and strength. It's not about withholding or hoarding. With the Knight of Pentacles on the other side, it's about like being discerning and investing appropriately or tending to the things that need to be tended to. The Five and the Six of Wands were here, but instead of being separated by the Ace of Wands, they were separated by the Ace of Pentacles. Interestingly, the Page of Wands is on the other side to have that sixth wand, but again, it's on the other side. Come through Earth. Ace of Pentacles, Two of Pentacles, Knight of Pentacles, Four of Pentacles. I think, too, there's a bit of confirmation for me. It is a confirmation, but not one that I was necessarily looking for here of the time that it takes for things to come into alignment. And for basically since the inception of this, well, not since the inception of the channel, because this channel has gone through many phases since the inception of this iteration of the channel. Um, it's like I have said and I stand by, like, I want everything and I'm willing to do whatever I need to do to get it. And that's not whatever I need to do in a like devilly type of way. That's whatever I need to do in a like a hierophant, I guess, in a divine type of way. All of the ways that I need to heal and grow and evolve to have the life that I want, I'm willing to do it. This that's not like I'm willing to lie and cheat and steal and manipulate and do all of whatever to get what I want. I want it all. Girl, like hello, no. All of that ain't worth it. To me, it's not worth it. Again, like little changes in the experience. If like a minor change in my experience is enough to rectify or to bring into alignment my nature and my reality, it's not worth the compromise. Right? It's like it wouldn't be, it has never been, especially since the inception of this iteration of the channel. It's never been worth it. The compromise has never been worth it. But as I try to stay on track, uh, because I want so much, it's almost like there are more things that have to come into alignment because of the interconnectedness of everything, because of the intentional and desired interconnectedness of everything. It's not just one thing that is coming into alignment. It's multiple things. And so it's like it's steadily where, on one hand, in some ways, it can be seen as like a lack in progress. And particularly, I guess, because these are both pentacles within the physical experience, which prompted a lot of that struggle, right? I feel like struggle is a word with harsher connotation than the reality of the situation. Um, but I don't. I guess it doesn't necessarily have to be as big of a deal as the connotation can sometimes imply, because it's not like a like I'm at war with myself. It's just sometimes I wonder if life wouldn't be more convenient if I cared a little less about others or the world at large and cared a little bit more about money and hoarding resources and my own personal happiness and satisfaction or whatever. If I were more selfish, and it's like, yeah, but not worth it. So, like, that's basically the extent of the struggle. So, it's not really a struggle, but I don't know how else to refer to it. You know what I mean? Like, it is, but it isn't. It's not like this huge, like, struggle. Like, oh, it's like, wow. I wonder what things would be like. Ooh, yeah. Actually, I don't. I don't. Anyway, Knight of Pentacles, things are moving forward, even if Four of Pentacles, they don't necessarily seem like it. So, as atypical as it's almost like as much as I feel like maybe I have sacrificed or I may be sacrificing because of my nature, like, I'm still gonna like gain everything that I want. The things that I desire that matter to me, they're like in the works, right? And as atypical as my journey may have been, it's like the destination that I'll arrive to, I'll still get there on time. Even if it seemed like it has been slower or taken longer. Cool. So last round, I am not the Emperor. I am the Three of Wands. I love this. Especially So this is the third round. Instead of looking at like one, two, three, and the round of I don't police, I make my peace. I'm not the emperor. I'm the three of wands. Interesting. What do I have to say about that? Oh, I see like three wands, four wands. One, two, three, four. From the four of wands, and I for some reason because the colors of the sky are so similar, I thought like this almost star of wands was like on the emperor card, and then I was like, wait, no, that's the five of wands card under the emperor. LOL. Um, I don't know. When it comes to a lot of things, I'm just like I'm a vibe guy. You know what I mean? I'm not necessarily a like come in and take charge, which is interesting because I was an RA 1 year, and after I was an RA, I was like a supervisor, right? Because before I was an RA, I didn't know if I had the personality for it because I'm not super authoritarian or whatever. And I'm not interested in, even if I have a leadership role, I'm not interested in that style of leadership. And so I didn't necessarily know if I was fit, right, for that kind of role. But after I was an RA, I was like, okay, I can be a leader and not compromise who I am. And not only can I be a leader and not compromise who I am, I can be a respected leader because of who I am. And then after that, I went on to be like, okay, well, like, let me explore this leadership um, arena because I've had opportunities for like progression in the past before that, but I was like, ew, I don't want to be in charge. I was like, I don't want any more responsibility than I have because I know the role, I know what's required, and I know the folks who like there are certain things that I care about, and I know that a lot of people don't care about their job and their work and the quality of their work as much as I do. And if I'm in charge of people, then I feel like things could get a little, you know, right? Because when I'm on the same level as the people who don't care about their job, it's like it's not my responsibility. And I had my whole lesson of like learning that, right? Their work speaks for them. My work speaks for me. I'm not their manager or their supervisor. So their work ethic has no bearing on me. If I were, maybe it would, but I'm not. And it was a comfort because it was a mess. It was just like people doing things that I wouldn't have necessarily done, right? Like if I clock in, I work because I'm clocked in. I'm not going to clock in and not do my work. Hello. Because I would feel like I'm stealing and I'm not a thief. You know what I mean? So if I'm clocked in, I'm on the clock, I'm working. Anyway, that was one reason. Um, but I went for the leadership thing too, because like as an RA, a resident assistant or whatever, I did it there, but I didn't do it in a like leading a team of like people that I also work with, right? I was like the rule enforcer for the dorm, which is different. And while I did get the feedback that I loved, and I loved it because, again, for me, I needed that validation at that point in time. The validation at that point in time was more important to me because I didn't know if I could be a leader because of what being a leader, because of what it seemed like it required, I guess, being in a leadership position. Um, so to receive the feedback that like, yeah, like you're one of like you're everyone's favorite RA because you know that the job is just a job. right? And that was like my approach when it came to enforcing any of the residential hall like policies and procedures. It's like, I know the rules, you know the rules, we both know that you're breaking the rules, so let's just go through the whatever. Now there's paperwork that we have to do. I move on with my life, you move on with your life. Come with me, right? I don't have to make this a bigger deal. This isn't a power trip for me. Honestly, I wish you weren't in this situation. I wish I wasn't either. But you put us both here. So, hey, I'm going to go on with my evening. I hope you can do the same. And again, it doesn't have to be a big deal. There were some people who were very much so like, I am the law of the land. And while you are in this hall, you're within my domain. And I have the power. And it's like, girl, it just wasn't me. You know what I mean? Also, I understand, and that was another, like, there were so many reasons why I didn't have to be that person, right? At that point in time, I was older. I was i was older than most people in the building, besides of course like the full time people. I was probably the oldest person because my journey was a lengthy one, full of value, very enriching. um Pretty sure I was the oldest person, and also like I'm fairly tall and I'm a male. So there's, and other things, there's a certain amount of like respect that I am inherently given that isn't necessarily earned, right? Being an older, taller male shouldn't necessarily inherently shouldn't give me any more respect than a younger, shorter female in the same position, but it did. So, also with that in mind. Anyway, I went for leadership in that era, and I found out that I could be another leader in a more professional way, and I don't have to compromise who I am, and I can still get the job done, and I can do it well. And I did also get validation at the end of that summer, um, because of what our group, there were like five, went through in particular. Like, we didn't have a full-time person, so it was up to me and two other students, and we kept it running because it was me, hello, and two other people. And I was like, okay, like, we lost our full-time person within like a month in the 2.5 to 3 months, right? I'm pretty sure it was like mid June, and we went until August. It started in May. So I was like, we got to pull together. We got to make sure our I's are dotted and our T's are crossed, because we don't have that person. And all of the people who were named as resources for us to use, they weren't really helpful. And then at the end, it was like a kudos to y'all for like getting the job done. Everyone was under a lot of pressure, including us, and it was like we couldn't show up really as well as we would have wanted because of everything else happening. But y'all took care of it, and I was like, thank you. So again, I'm not necessarily interested. Um, for what I ultimately want to do, I don't know. At this point in time, I have relative disinterest in it, I guess I'll say. But I also understand that it doesn't necessarily have to be what I think it would be because of how I've seen other versions and iterations and portrayals of it. Right. And again, with that Three of Wands, sort of what I was saying earlier, if the situation demands it, then out of necessity, sure, I don't mind as much, but it's not necessarily something I would want to go for. I'm interested to see, because this is how we're starting. I'm interested to see who will win this round, because that may be what's next for me. Next round, I don't Three of Cups, I Four of Wands. This is gorgeous. You can't eat at just any table, and you can't drink any old drink, especially in a bar when it's left unattended, because while statistics anybody and everybody. Anyway, I don't. Oh, look, another one of my birth cards, Venus and Aries, and again, it's on the side of the truth. It just keeps happening. What? I also didn't catch that there was the Aquarius Leo opposition and the star as the first card on the side of the Four of Swords, and Strength as the last card on the side of the Chariot. Three of Wands, Four of Wands. Oh, there's a progression over here. Excuse me. That's more, I guess, both of those. I didn't catch that. Sun and Aries is the Three of Wands. The Emperor is Aries. Aries energy came out for both of those. The Sun and Venus in Aries. That's the 3, 4, 5 of Wands is already here. 6 of Wands is already here. I don't think we've seen the Two of Wands. The Page of Wands is here. Interesting. Interesting how many Wands cards are here. I guess you could say like the Three of Cups is for a night, for an evening, and the Four of Wands through connotation is for a lifetime. Four of Wands has a bit more, it has more of an energy of dedication than the Three of Cups does, but also they're like different. I'm going to proceed. Lastly, but never leastly, I don't Page of Swords, I Page of Pentacles. I love this with the context of those. Also, the Page of Wands, Page of Swords, and Page of Pentacles have all made an appearance. The Page of Pentacles is on top of the Page of Wands, is on top of the Strength card. So this Page of Pentacles is like the Ten of Pentacle, Page of Swords, sorry, is on top of the Six of Wands and the Ten of Pentacles, which is again, like I'm not looking to hit the milestones that like norms have decided. Again, in some ways, the ship has sailed on that. So I can't. And now, more and more so, especially this year, and I just had this thought, I think earlier today, instead of like lamenting what my journey hasn't been and all of the ways that it's different, like earlier this year, I actually said out of these tulips, which sounds disgusting for some reason. If I would have said like I said out of my own mouth, to me it sounds less like than like out of these two lips. Like, oh girl, stop. Um, sorry. Oh my gosh, why am I so immature? Back to it. I actually said earlier this year, I told my friend, I was like, I wish that like in the current situation, I wish that like I would have graduated now or like last year rather than like years ago. And my friend was like, do you really think that you'd be in a better position if you had less industry experience and you were just graduating? And I was like, yes, because I'd be like closer to the information. Because my thinking was at the time that I graduated, like AI and stuff like that, it was not a part of our curriculum. And my thinking was, even if it wasn't something that I covered in depth, because my curriculum was what it was, I probably would have at least touched upon it and I'd have more of a basis or a closer contact than I do as someone who, like, that wasn't relevant as relevant for my degree level at the time. So I feel like, I'd be closer to whatever. And he was just like, okay. And I thought about that earlier today for some reason. about almost like how foolish I was to think that, or more so along the lines of like how much I've devalued my experiences over the past few years to believe that, or to think that that's a valid thing to believe, right? Like, while there could have been some benefits, sure, like, what about everything else that's happened? And what about everything else that I've gained? And so it's interesting, again, with strength versus the Ten of Pentacles, especially clarified by the Page of Wands and the Six of Wands, those two cards. It was like me creating the life that I want rather than living the life that I should or that is typical. And the Page of Pentacles is like investing in that rather than looking over at like all of the things that I should be doing, right? And so far, the Three of Wands, Four of Wands, Page of Pentacles, again, it really stands to what I would want to commit to rather than the Emperor, the Three of Cups, the Page of Swords, like the things that I could do to get myself back on track, to close the gap between like where I am and where I should be. But again, as I've been struggling with my nature, I've realized it's like they're things that I don't want. Well, not only are they things that I don't want, but it's like I don't want to be that person. I'm not, thankfully. Um, you know, and it takes everyone, right? There has to be someone at, like, there needs to, arguably, I guess you could say, but there needs to be an emperor, a decision maker at the very least. There needs to be a decision maker to make things happen. And although I could be, it's okay for me to not want to be because there is someone who can do that and do it right, right? It's for me to do the things that are for me to do, that I desire, because I don't need a desire. And because I'm not chosen, I choose. I choose what I desire and I make my peace with those choices. Because I don't police my needs and necessities because I feel chosen, right? I'm not chosen, I choose. I don't need, I desire. I don't police, I make my peace. So the final card, which side is going to take it? We have the Two of Cups. There are so many cards that could beat this. Four of Swords, Knight of Pentacles, Two of Cups. Again, when the Emperor came out, I was like, I really believe this is going to go to the other side. But let's see. It could be a tie. There could be an ace here. Aces are low right now. I am so shook. I'm honestly shook. This is why I'm doing this. Again, like I've said, since like as I'm like diving into this, beyond the pretext of this is who people think I am and this is the truth about me, you'll never guess, or maybe you will guess, what card could have me as gooped and gagged as I am right now. The Two of Cups, that side does lose. The card at the bottom of the deck is the Emperor. And again, it's so funny because when the Emperor came out here on the side of the Three of Wands, I knew that that was the reason why this side wouldn't take it. But the Emperor ended up being the exact reason why it does. And this is why I use two different decks to allow for the same card to appear, but also why I used two versions of the same deck to keep things as like fair as I could. Like even between the SKT, like there are differences between the Holy See and the Hierophant, for example. The Destroyer as another example. And there's another card where it's kind of like not super stark, but the Emperor. The Emperor takes it for this side. But again, that also plays into what I was saying earlier. There are pathways. Like I see myself desiring that at a point in time that's not right now. And so right now, it's almost like I'm on a journey of like if I were to become a master chef, right? This part of my life is the pilgrimage around the world, learning different cooking techniques and recipes and like ingredients and stuff like that. You know what I mean? I'm watching like I just finished the cooking show and I started another one that I guess I'm gonna watch. I don't know. We'll see. Also, I'm hungry, so and also I was talking about how much I haven't cooked because I was cooking so much. I was literally just telling my mom, I was like, I used to do this every day. And now I have you to do it for me. And while I'm here, I might as well, because when we're not cohabitating, then you won't be there to do it for me. But also, I would like to do it for her, right? So, anyway, I was just saying, like, I see it at some point, but I don't need that in my career sector right now, right? And anyway, the Two of Cups and the Emperor. So, of course, the Emperor takes it because the Emperor is a major, the Two of Cups is a minor. Every major has been on the side of the truth. The perception won with the Knight of Pentacles, when the truth was the Four of Pentacles. And the truth being the Four of Pentacles, but the Knight of Pentacles winning, the perception winning, it almost reminds me, it does remind me now that I talk about it, of the bus stop in the KSA Coco Soco Esoko, the bus stop in Storm Warning, right? And it was like the things that we do in between to prepare for whatever is coming next. So the truth takes it, of course. I feel like there are cheers. In my mind, there are cheers. In my head, I can hear. And ultimately, it's 2-1 with the Chariot, the Four of Pentacles, and the Emperor. Interestingly enough, these are all cardinal modalities. Cancer, Sun, and Capricorn, and Aries. On the other side are also cardinal modalities with the Four of Swords, Jupiter and Libra, and the Two of Cups, Venus and Cancer, but with mutable Earth mixed in there with the Knight of Pentacles. Interesting. So the Emperor takes it with the Three of Wands, Four of Wands, and Page of Pentacles. Cool. I don't know. I feel like I'll take another picture after. I am not gonna do final cards because I want to take pictures of this. Um, this if I read it as past, present, future, then this would be the future layer. So the past and the future, one. The truth of the past and future, one. Oh my gosh! It like formed this figure eight that's at the top of the, um, or I guess it forms a lemniscate that was at the top of the trump card. What was I saying? I don't know what I was saying. Talking about taking a picture because I feel like it's like unfolding more. If it were past, present, and future, the truth of the past and the future would win, but the perception of the present would win over the truth of the present. But the perception of the present leads to the truth of the future winning out over the perception of the future. And again, it's interesting that the emperor came out as the card that won it for the truth because it was the emperor itself that had me like, oh yeah, this side. But I think even before that, I was talking about how I see it in the future. So I don't know. This is gives me something to contemplate. Like it would be one thing if the perception of the present won because it's like in and of itself, yes, right? Because the as removed, kind of sort of in the vein of like as I was talking about like Uranus or Aquarian energy being so like tomorrow that it can unground us today if that's where we are, right? Like for the age of Aquarius to be the hope that it was in the age of Pisces was like, yeah, that's Aquarius. It's tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be this utopianic, beautiful future. But that age is now. And so, like, we're living tomorrow's today, which kind of sort of calls back to that justice and the chariot combination that we saw, where it's like the tracks that we lay today determine where the train goes tomorrow. Anyway, the perception of the present winning out over the truth of the present isn't necessarily revolutionary because it's true or it's easy to see as true, right? Because today is where we take action. So, regardless of what tomorrow may bring or the truth of like yesterday, because we see something a certain way today, we're going to do what we are doing today based off of our perception. And that is going to be what we do, not the truth, right? Of what we should do. I don't know. It feels like there's something there that I'll dig into more. Cool. You know what? I will get final cards. I'll just move these off of the table so I can spread these out and take my picture. Ooh, if I put these here, I get more. I want to say clearance, but I don't know if that's the word. I get to use all of that. Yeah. And then I can lay these out like this. Ooh, nice. I've been like, as a complete aside, I've been like craving beans. I've been craving beans for the past probably week or so. I feel like my craving shifted from soup to beans at some point. We did have chili the other day, which is kind of like a compromise. It's a soup made out of beans, right? Bean soup. All right. I'm gonna take this picture and then I'll get final cards. Ooh. Ooh, now that I sit up, I kind of gotta go to the restroom. All right. Standing up activated the bladder. All right. So, yeah. The Emperor, the Four of Pentacles, and the Chariot. Because the Chariot is there, and because the Chariot is the balancer of forces, like I said, I'll look into it later. You know what we will do? Before I get final cards. Oh, in groups of three. I'm going to do one final round with the cards. Oh, no, because I don't want to mix them. Oh, that's the one. Well, it's only one card that I have to look at. So, yeah, I have my picture. It's only one card I have to look at, and that's the Emperor. So, we're going to do one last round with the cards that each side won. So, it's what, like 8 cards versus 16? Because the left side, the side of perception won 1 round, the side of truth won 2 rounds. And I'm going to give them as good of a shuffle as I can. All right, I'll do one more. I guess I can like spread them out. Do one. Oh, well, I guess we may have cards in reverse. That's fine. I feel like that did next to nothing, but hey, it's fine. And then, so 1, 2, 3, 4. I gotta like, I'm just doing like hitting them with one of these because it's only so many cards. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's see. Let's see. The Four of Wands in reverse on the side of the truth, with the Ace of Pentacles upright on the side of perception. Aces are low, so the Four of Wands does take it. The truth takes it, but it's in reverse. I feel like the Four of Wands reverse would just be like, it's like if it were like a couple, it'd be like the couple that you never would have expected to get together, right? So for me, it could be like something that I'm not even either thinking of or considering now, or something that I could be like opposed to now, right? So, for example, the biggest one that came out in this would be like leadership, right? because I view there's a certain pathway, career path. There's a certain phase of my career that I view as like later. And maybe either later it'll change or later maybe sooner than I realized. Eight of Cups, the Moon, and the Two of Cups in reverse are the cards backing the Four of Wands in reverse. The Two of Cups did like spin as I tried to flip it. So this is like a Six of Cups energy because you walk back two cups. If it were Two of Cups upright, it would be like a Ten of Cups energy with the moon sort of standing in between. With this connotation, it could be like something that I'm walking away from that I at some point realize comes along. It could be something that I'm discounting now that I realize because it's all about, and it's funny because I was telling my journey buddy about like work that I'd prefer not to do again, but that I would be like open to doing in the right like environment, right company for the right reasons, stuff like that, right? And it's not necessarily work that I like hate. It's just like not a huge preference. I've even said before though, like if that work got me closer to what it is that I desire, I'd do it again. And I feel like also there are so many like, and that's one thing that I've been experiencing or seeing a lot in these last few months is that there are aspects to it that I would be interested in because it felt like where I was, there wasn't much growth. Ironically, because things not growing was the ideal, right? Ideally, there should be no growth, and in a world there is no growth and everything is perfect. I'm talking about microbiology. Right? When I was a microbiologist, because it was more like I don't know. It almost felt like after growth in terms of like learning, maybe, but the realm of microbiology is vast. And there are so many aspects and applications and things that I would be very interested in. If I hadn't done what I had, that was one that in and of itself was one thing that I never would have thought I would actually do because of my eyes. Before the surgery, like I never used the microscope because I struggled with it. And for some reason, I was like, I want to take the role that would challenge me more. And I feel like the microbiologist role would challenge me more than like the analytical chemist, the lab chemist role. So I went for, because I was qualified for both, I went for the micro role. And my experience would have been so different had I done that. So different, actually. Anyway, um, that was one thing, right? And I ended up, it taught me that I was more capable than I had allowed myself to be because the situation and the circumstances had changed, right? I'm like, as I'm halfway in the frame. The moon is here and I will respect it as I theorize and postulate, hypothesize. On the side of the Ace of Pentacles, we have the Five of Wands, the Two of Pentacles, excuse me, the Five of Wands, the Two of Pentacles, and the Six of Pentacles. It's interesting because first the Five of Wands and the Six of Wands were separated by the Ace of Pentacles. Now they're separated by the Two of Pentacles. So going from the five to the six, the something in the earth is like growing, I guess you could say, from the ace to the two. Because speaking of growth, lol, because the element of earth is about growth, right? Things grow. It's also interesting. The first and third card from both sets are in the same element. Eight of Cups, Two of Cups in reverse. Five of Wands, Six of Wands. With the Six of Cups energy of Eight Cups plus negative Two Cups. To have the Six of Wands here, if I just do straight up addition, there would be 11 Wands, 5 plus 6, and 10 Cups, 8 plus 2. What's interesting here is it's almost like, again, with the Four of Wands in reverse and the Two of Cups in reverse, it's almost it's like a food, right? Let's say there's a food that, oh, there are several foods. There was a food that I didn't like that I had prepared in a way, and my taste buds changed. There was a food that I didn't like, okra, bindi. Um, I was like never a fan of it, but after having it so many times, it kind of like grew on me, and then I liked it. Right? Then I was like, oh yeah, I like bindi. It just has to be prepared in a way where it's like not slimy. Um, so sometimes it's the preparation. It's that thought exactly. It's almost like maybe there was something that I had in a way where, like, my first exposure to it, it wasn't prepared to my taste. Because I don't police, I make my peace, right? So rather than being like, hey, like this was a little overcooked or undercooked, if you would have added this or that, like, or could you add this or that, for my taste, since that usually when you go out to eat, assuming it's like a restaurant dining experience, it's cooked to your taste, right? But rather than telling them how I would like it to be cooked to my taste, I'm just like, okay, I'm just never going to eat here again because they don't cook food the way that I like it. And it's like, I could be theoretically cheating myself out of an amazing culinary experience if I just let them know, like, hey, I don't like celery. So could you make this without celery? Right. And then it's like, whoa. Or celery, cardamom. Anyway, it's almost like that. It could also be it could be. It could be a lot of things. Also, it almost feels like one thing leading to another. So it's like ultimately at the end of the day, you could say the 4-1 side will take it. The truth wins. But it's like it takes this Ace of Pentacles to it takes the Ace of Pentacles to make it to a point where the Four of Wands win, but it's in the upright, rather than the Four of Wands winning while it's still in the reverse. The Two of Cups have to go upright. to take that from a Six of Cups energy to a Ten of Cups energy. So again, it's like an experience that has to be redone, or because the first time it wasn't to taste. Like with the Six of Cups is association with like the past and nostalgia and stuff like that. But it's like it sits at the Six of Cups now because the Two of Cups are in reverse. But 11 of Wands is also the Page of Pentacles. And we saw the Page of Pentacles sitting on top of strength. But the Page of Wands came out in the round that the truth lost to the perception of the present. That's when the Four of Pentacles was there. And I think the Two of Pentacles, yeah, the Two of Pentacles also came out in that round because, yeah, the Four of Pentacles. These are the only cards that were won by the perception of the present. And the Page of Wands is right there. So, yeah, it was the same round. So now we see the perception of the past losing out to an aspect of the truth of the future, because that's when the Four of Wands came out. It was the Three of Wands, the Four of Wands, and the Page of Pentacles. When the Two of Cups also came out and it lost to the Emperor. So the cards from the past, interestingly, the cards from the past are upright. The Eight of Cups and the Moon. The cards from the future are in reverse, the Two of Cups and the Four of Wands. Again, almost that energy of like some kind of recontextualization or an experience that makes up for the first that hasn't necessarily occurred. Or in the life that happened up until this point, just like the microbiologist experience, I've only had an experience of something before like everything changed and before I became who I am today, when I still was who I was, before I was of a mind, the mind that I have now. And so it could be in the past, it was like a Five of Wands because of what it would have required, even like because of what it would have required of me at a time where I didn't have the capacity to give it, versus what it could be now with the Six of Wands because I've achieved and accomplished all that I've achieved and accomplished in these past few years of living life. Again, because I no longer am who I used to be. And maybe with the Ace of Pentacles, rather than the Two of Pentacles, it's like I could receive something rather than scrutinize it. And if I do, the Two of Cups and the Four of Wands can go upright. What else is in reverse? The Page of Pentacles, Strength, and the Chariot. The Page of Pentacles, Strength, and the Chariot were also in reverse. And Strength fell on the floor, and I picked it up upright. Because I'm strong now. I'm strong enough now to go through those experiences rather than allowing the fear of past real limitations, but again, because they're not anymore. Maybe things that I didn't think I'd be strong enough for before, I am now, again, because of the things that I've overcome in life. With the Five of Wands and the Six of Wands, it's a connotation of overcoming. Cool. Interesting. Honestly, if I think on it a little bit, it doesn't like scare me, but it inspires a certain trepidation, you could say. Trepidation has definitely been inspired by these cards. I have to differentiate between the two emperors. Ooh, yeah, I'm pretty sure this one belongs over here. This emperor is a fool. The emperor that is a fool is the emperor that lost, by the way. BT dubs. If you were curious, you may not have been. Because there's one version of the deck that I have where all of the QR codes on the back are the same. And unprompted, I guess they caught the mistake on the back end. After a few days, they sent me a version of the deck that where the QR codes actually correspond to the cards. Um, yeah. Yep, the fool. This emperor is a fool. I was a fool at that time. Before I had those experiences, I was the fool for thinking that because this is how I've seen a lot of emperors behave, this is what it means to be an emperor. And then I found out that you don't have to be a fool to be an emperor. You can be, obviously. You can be anything you want to be, but you don't have to be. Cool. All right. So I am going to separate these back into their respective decks real quick by remembering what came out on which side. And again, there's only 4 cards over here, so that should be relatively easy. And all of these cards, 5 cards, sorry. Is it 5 or is it 4? I'm pretty sure all of these came out over here. 2 of Pentacles, Strength, 8 of Cups. 2 of Cups was over here. It should be 8 cards over here. 8 and 16. Okay. The Moon, the 4 of Wands, because it was the 3 and the 4 of Wands. The Hanged One, Page of Wands, 4 of Pentacles, Emperor. 4 of Swords was over here. The Star was over there. 3 of Cups was over here. So that's, hold up. The Magician was over here. The Page of Swords was over here. The 10 of Pentacles was over here. The 3 of Wands was over here. The Chariot was over here. And the Page of Pentacles was over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I feel like this math ain't math. Whoa, wait, that's 5 and 7. Yeah, it should be the same number of cards from both decks because I pulled the same number of cards. Girl. Right? Yes. For every card that I pulled, there was a corresponding card from the other deck. So it should be the same number of both. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. It makes sense. For every fool, there was the reality. And I didn't plan that. I just shuffled 2 of them. The Fool was the deck of perception. And on the side of the truth is what the card meanings actually were. So, wow. Even that little bit. I mean, it was a 50-50 chance, right? Strength and the Queen of Wands at the cut. Interesting. Strength and the Queen of Wands is like the strength to be who you are. But also, it's the strength to be who you are while accepting all of who you are, right? I think sometimes we think to be confident in who we are like we have to blind ourselves to certain aspects of our personality and stuff like that. But that's not what the Queen of Wands is about. That's not a strength that's based in blindness. It's a strength that's based in awareness, acknowledgement, and acceptance. Eight of Swords and the Wheel of Fortune. Okay. And then Temperance and the Eight of Swords. All right. I want to put these together first, and I guess I'll put this deck away to fuck with the others. Okay. The Fool. Patrick, how did you know that that one was the Fool? Because I looked at a few of the card backs, probably as they were laying on the table, and I noticed with the pattern of the Fool, there's a certain number of dots in the QR code, and the Emperor had like way more. The real Emperor had way more dots in that particular region of the QR code than the Fool does. So it made it easy. I thought I would have had to scan both of them or scan one of them and then use process of elimination, but I just had to scan for confirmation. We have the King of Wands at the cut with the Page of Swords. And this is the deck that the Page of Swords didn't appear in. And that's the deck that Strength didn't appear in. The King and Queen of Wands. Interesting. And the King of Wands is like peeking over the throne. Like, who that over there? I don't know. Eight of Cups and the King of Wands. Not the King of Wands being like, did I walk away from her? Was I crazy? I mean, honestly, what was I thinking? I was in a dark place. I wasn't thinking. The World and the Knight of Cups. All right. Final card from the truth. From the true Astro Matrix. From the As It Is edition. I want a clean flip or a clean fall, please. Oh, that was a flip. Bottom of the deck is the Knight of Wands. So we've seen the King through the final cards. The Page of Wands came out during the read. The Queen, King, and Knight came out afterwards. There's Knight of Wands. Also, we saw the Ace of Wands Salamander in Dispenser's Tarot, and of course, the Salamander theme carries through, but it's on his coat. The cards that came out, it's the Five of Pentacles and the Four of Swords. With the whole Two of Cups in reverse, Four of Wands in reverse, 5, 2, 6, Ace, 1, Wands, Pentacles, upright. There's something here about like what wasn't received in the past. Again, playing off of that whole um, without a communication of expectation. The dish was prepared in the standard way. I didn't like the standard way it was prepared, and instead of letting my tastes and preferences be known so that the dish could be made to my taste, I just decided, not for me. In that vein, also with the Knight of Wands here, and it's, even if I use like the experience of the cataract surgery with my eyes, right? There could be something that I was exposed to that I didn't pay much mind to at the time because I didn't, either I couldn't engage, or I didn't think I would be able to engage in the way that I now can, right? Just like with using the microscopes, because my vision was what it was already. But by the time I left the microbiologist gig, I was like, girl, I was like, what? Look at me. Because before, when I was there with someone else, they would do it. We would just divvy up, and it partial like that's kind of the way it worked out, right? They preferred to do the things that I didn't want to do, so I didn't have to do it until I was the only person there and I had to. And after one frustrating evening, I like got the trick of it, and then I was like, oh, it's not that bad. I was like, oh, I can do this now. But it's almost the energy of something that's laid dormant or that has lain dormant until I've had whatever epiphany you could say that I've had, or whatever openness. And this could be like literally anything. And so honestly, instead of being like, oh, after I like end the live, I'm gonna like sit and think on all the things that I used to not like and ponder what I may actually enjoy now. maybe maybe I should, but bro, that's too much. I'll just use this as a an indicator for when I find it, when it comes back to me, or when it comes on my radar again. If it fits this criteria, I'll go, oh, like, well, let me actually like really dig into this a little bit. Let me actually see, right? I ain't going looking for it. I don't believe I would have to. I'll take this as a heads up to be more in the present, right? Or to think of things now or as they are now, as something to not be so quick to dismiss something because of old news, right? On the other side, the Four of Pentacles with the Eight of Cups. Again, we didn't see these cards in the full version. This is the full version where all the QR codes are that of the Fool. We saw those in the true version. You see the similarity in those QR codes? Interesting. Now the Queen of Wands is here again with the Eight of Cups. And then the Devil is here with the Eight of Cups. So that could be a like, as I've been talking about this for the past too long, there's been a lot of like me, I like, because of, it's been a lot of focus and emphasis on me and my journey and my growth and my capabilities. But with these few here, it could also be like, okay, don't like put a whole bunch of whatever on yourself, because maybe the thing itself, it also wasn't whatever it is when it rolls around. It also wasn't then what it is now. So not only have I grown, but some kind of growth, evolution, change has transpired on the other side as well. Type energy, right? Oh, look, there's the Knight of Wands now. Well, let's do this and see if the Devil is still there. I think the Devil is there. Devil and the Two of Wands. So it was a flash of the Knight of Wands. Devil, Two of Wands, the Ten of Pentacles, and the Two of Wands. This is the version of the deck that we saw the Two of Pentacles in. So as I'm Knight of Wandsing, don't get caught up in that Devil energy. This also just, and because this is a self read that I'm posting generally, collectively, I am not, for full clarity, as open, that part of, also part of the reason why I'm like, I'm not looking or I'm not searching. Girl, if it was devil energy then and it's still devil energy now, I'm still not interested. You know what I mean? Um, yeah, this isn't, as I'm doing this, this is not me stating some open declaration to the anything and everything of yesterday. Uh, that yeah, I'm not openly declaring that. Oh yeah, like I'm open to it, girl. No, no, no. I still choose to make my peace. Okay, and if it wasn't peace then, and it ain't gonna peace, it ain't gonna be peace now. Same outcome. And I say this for me. Also, like I know, right? I know, like everything is relative. There's a relativity to things, right? So if something like that was a five of wands in the past, it wasn't a five of swords or whatever, right? What was a five of wands because of the two of pentacles scrutiny that didn't work then, that led to a two of cups in reverse, four of wands in reverse. Now that the six of wands has happened mutually, things have been overcome and achieved and stuff like that. Now it's a fit, right? But again, that was a five of wands, not a five of swords. Ooh, ten of pentacles in the chariot. That's the again. This is the chariot. We didn't see the chariot on this side. We saw the chariot, like the true chariot. This is the fool's chariot with the four cups. Still ten of pentacles. All right. I feel like I'm getting some good shuffles. Five of cups, ten of pentacles. Ooh, let's see. Decent. All right, final card from the fool's side. Girl, that was immediate. Bottom of the deck is the seven of pentacles. This is, it's like stalled. Something that had stalled. So again, it was a five of pentacles, or it was a five of wands, not a five of swords. Something that stalled out, not something that necessarily, like there wasn't a tower. It wasn't, extreme. It's almost like something that had stopped growing because the environment wasn't. It could have been suitable for germination, but not suitable for growth long term, not suitable for thriving. It's almost like it could have survived with intense care that there was not a capacity for at the time. But it just like stalled out. It didn't necessarily die. It didn't necessarily wither. The Ten of Wands is the card that flipped out immediately. Saturn and Sagittarius. Excuse me. So we've seen the Two of Wands. No. Yeah. Well, I mean, we ended up seeing the Two of Wands at the cut. So yeah, Two of Wands, Three of Wands, Four of Wands, Five of Wands, Six of Wands, and now the Ten of Wands. We didn't see the Ace, and we also saw the Page, the Knight, the King, and Queen of Wands. We didn't see the Ace of Wands. We didn't see the Seven of Wands. We didn't see the Eight of Wands or the Nine of Wands. And again, I guess as I was talking about the burden that it, like with intensive care, maybe something could have survived, but there wasn't the capacity before. There's a lot of details on this Ten of Wands in particular that speak to the roughness of the journey. I don't think I have a lot of cards where the clothes on the Ten of Wands are as tattered as they are here, or worn as they are here. This is the deck that won with the Knight of Pentacles. And it feels like that's important here. With the Ten of Pentacles and the Seven of Pentacles, with the Ten of Wands, excuse me, and the Seven of Pentacles, with the connotation of like the environment, the soil, like something just wasn't conducive for these things to grow. It feels like the Ten of Wands is a journey to acquire whatever it is to get these things to grow. That's why I pointed out the fact that like this is the deck that won with the Knight of Pentacles. The Knight of Pentacles being the one that takes the time to like invest, or it speaks to like a lengthier journey because of what has to be or had to be like rectified or corrected, or what, not inadequacies, um a word for like what was in lack that needs to be provided before like these things could really even hit a growth spurt, which I knew of before. Like that was the specific intention of 2023 4. Yeah, because now it's 2024 5. Girl. Now we now is that Nine of Pentacles, Four of Pentacles energy. Where things are just a little slower. But again, I don't begrudge. I can't. Like this year has been so, and even like there have been things this year, opportunities that have come on my radar that I like forgot that I used to like really want to pursue. I had like completely forgotten until it like came back on my radar, and I had my initial freak out, of course. And then I was like, wait, like this is what like something that I actually like before all of the limitations and before everything of everything. Like this is something that I wanted to do. Maybe it's just like taking a while to gather the necessary whatever to like be able to like do it. To allow myself to pursue it, honestly. More so than anything, to allow myself to put myself out there to receive. Right? Cool. I almost want to get one more. I'll do like a cut. The Two of Pentacles. Seven of Pentacles plus the Two of Pentacles is Nine Pentacles. It's the nine before the ace that's received to make it a 10. So now, again, it's things to be mindful of, things to be aware of. If ever those doubts or questions of old come up, remember the truth. And remember how important the perception of today is. And it has a way, with this as template, it has a weight. The perception of today has a weight that the perception of yesterday and the perception of tomorrow don't have, because the truth of yesterday and tomorrow won. But the perception of today is what wins today, because it's the only tense where there is alignment or where there is a match, right? If we think about the past that's already happened, those are current thoughts about something in the past. There's a tense mismatch. If we think now of tomorrow, again, thinking thoughts right now, today, for something that hasn't even occurred yet, that's a tense mismatch. But when we think today about what's happening today, there's an alignment there. And so it gives the thought more weight because of that tense match, rather than, what has already been or what will be. So we use it. We can use it today, But just Patrick, be mindful. So anyway, if you've come across this video and have stuck around for this long for some reason, I hope you find um, something that helps you as much as I imagine this helped me. Um, yeah, I hope you have an amazing whenever you see this. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. And I hope that whatever you need along your path, journey, what you find, be it person, mentor, guide, journey buddy, ally, companion, compatriot, opportunity. Um, I don't know. I would prefer the sympathizing, empathizing part of me, I guess, would prefer it be like of ease or relative ease, but the quote unquote spiritual, the part of me that understands what we sometimes need, the part of me that understands that sometimes we need something that we wouldn't necessarily prefer, also acknowledges the fact that it may not be easy or ease filled, but just because it's not easy doesn't necessarily mean it isn't for you. Or just because it's not easy doesn't mean that it isn't necessarily ultimately for your good or for your betterment. Because sometimes some medicines are bitter, and there are some challenges that we go through that make us better. So, all right. Hey, Holly. Bye, Holly.